You might have just seen the news. The government claims they're releasing fuel reserves to ease shortages by cutting the minimum stockholding rules by 20%. I have to watch them stand up there and absolutely gaslight us, because they're lying. Mate, they're lying to us. The hard truth is, the government doesn't own a single drop of that fuel. What politicians call a strategic reserve is just a legal requirement for private companies like BP and Shell to hold stock. It's their fuel for their profit, not a public stockpile. In this video, I'm going to show you the cold, hard numbers on who really controls your fuel security. Then, we'll look at the taxpayer-funded plan to actually fix it. So if the fuel isn't ours, what the hell is this strategic reserve they keep talking about? How is this system even legal? You need to see how it works. So, how is this system even legal? The short answer is, it's not a bug, it's a feature. It's a profit trap, and it's been set for you legally. First, let's be clear. If the government doesn't own our fuel reserves, then who does? Private oil companies. And the laws in this country don't just allow them to profit from a crisis, they actively encourage it. Here's how the trap works. It's called Hoard and Dribble. When a crisis hits and global supply tightens, these companies have zero commercial incentive to release their fuel stocks to stabilize the price for you at the bowser. Their job is to maximize profit, so they hold on to their stock, they turn the tap down to a trickle, and they legally price gouge. In Australia, that is not illegal. The government themselves have put the laws in place that allow the oil companies to take as much money as they can from the Australian people. And what can the government do about it? Almost nothing. Their only real power is to have the Governor-General declare a national emergency under the Liquid Fuel Emergency Act. That's a law from 1984, and in all that time, it has never once been used. It's a nuclear option they're terrified to press. Short of that, their hands are tied. They have no real control. This makes us a dangerous outlier. I want you to see this data. Australia is the only IEA member nation out of 32 that fails to meet the 90-day fuel reserve requirement, the only one. In contrast, the United States has a government-controlled reserve of around 125 days. South Korea has 200. Japan holds nearly 254 days of supply. They have control. We have a prayer. This isn't an accident. This system, this vulnerability, it wasn't created overnight. You need to understand that this has been a 50-year project. So the real question isn't just who profits from this trap. The real question is, why was the trap built in the first place? Alright, so why was this trap built in the first place? To be fair, you have to go back to the 1980s, and the original logic wasn't completely insane. Back then, Australia had 10 of its own fuel refineries. We produced over 70% of what we needed right here at home. Because we were largely self-sufficient, the argument for not having massive government-owned reserves, well, you could see the logic even if you didn't agree with it. But then, successive governments, Labour and Liberal both of them, just stood by and watched as that security was systematically dismantled. Those 10 refineries, they let them get shut down one by one, until we were left with just 2. Our fuel dependency completely flipped. We now import over 90% of our refined fuel. And all this happened while our demand skyrocketed as the population nearly doubled. Here's the part that should make you furious. The entire justification for the original policy, our self-sufficiency, completely vanished. But the policy itself, the dangerously outdated, reckless policy, it was never fixed. They just left it there. Mate, this is not an oversight. It is a catastrophic failure of governance that has played out over decades. And it's easy to get angry about this. I am. You should be. But anger without a plan is just useless noise. It achieves nothing. So, we're not going to sit in the anger. We are going to talk about the plan. It's a clear, actionable strategy to take back our national security. It's time we built what I call the Aussie Fuel Firewall. So what is the Aussie Fuel Firewall? It's not complicated. In fact, its logic is so direct it makes you wonder why Canberra hasn't done it already. It's a 3-step system that creates total energy independence. Let's break it down. First, we reclaim our reserves. The current system, where we rely on private companies holding our reserves for profit, is a joke. So we implement a hybrid model. We keep their 40 days of private stock, but the Australian government builds and controls an additional 50 days of publicly owned fuel reserves. Right there, we hit the 90-day international standard we're supposed to meet. The difference? We hold the keys, not some foreign-owned company. That gives us real power at the negotiating table. Second, we rebuild our refineries. Relying on other countries to refine our own fuel is insane. Our self-sufficiency is less than 10%. So we invest in building just one new modern mega refinery. That single move, combined with keeping our last two, would catapult our refining capacity back to over 80% self-sufficient. It insulates us from overseas price shocks and supply chain blackmail. The numbers don't lie. It's a game changer. Third, and this is the final piece of the puzzle, we unleash our own resources. I am tired of politicians telling us we have to depend on unstable regimes on the other side of the world. It's a lie. We have vast onshore resources right here. We simply need to approve development for reserves like the Arkaringa Basin in South Australia. Estimates show it holds enough oil to power Australia for 580 years. 580 years. The fuel is right here, under our feet. You see how this works? Control over our reserves, power over our production, and ownership of our resources. It's a complete system. It's a firewall. Now, I know exactly what you're thinking. Sarah, this sounds great, but who's going to pay for it? It sounds expensive, right? Building new storage, a whole new refinery. Here's the thing, you're already paying every single time you fill up your car. The question isn't, what will this cost us? The real question is, where is our money going right now, and why isn't it being used to build this security for us? When you see exactly who profits from the broken system we have now, you'll understand everything. That money is the fuel excise tax. It's the tax you pay on every single litre at the pump. Think of it like this. Every time you fill your car, you're putting money into a national piggy bank. Our plan, the Aussie Fuel Firewall, simply uses that money to finally build a secure house for our country. The government, they're just smashing that piggy bank every week to pay for band-aids. Let's look at the numbers, because, mate, the numbers don't lie. Even at the recently reduced rate of 26 cents per litre, the fuel tax you pay would fund the entire 10-year Aussie Fuel Firewall project. Not just fund it, but it would do so and still leave a $15 billion surplus. $15 billion. With that surplus, we could finally build and flag our own fleet of 3 to 4 Australian-owned oil tankers, ending our total reliance on foreign shipping. We currently have 0, and the entire project would create tens of thousands of secure, long-term Australian jobs. And here's the kicker. The part that proves they're lying. The government recently passed laws, the Export Finance Australia Amendment, to use taxpayer money to underwrite fuel and imports. Your money's already being used to prop up the fuel system, but it's being directed at making us more dependent, not sovereign. The mechanism exists. The funds exist. They are just pointed in completely the wrong direction. So the problem is not a lack of money. It is not a lack of a plan. It is a lack of political will. They continue to gaslight us while the solution, funded by us, is staring them right in the face. So, the plan is clear and the money is there, taken from our own fuel taxes. In your opinion, what's the real reason this common sense solution is being ignored? Share your thoughts below. If you're tired of being gaslit, share this video. The more people who understand the truth, the harder it is for them to ignore it. Like and subscribe for more breakdowns that cut through the bullshit.